Hello, welcome to the MERC channel, and this is my first episode of According to Dave. So today we're going to be discussing what just happened with this new proposed rule that the FAA came up with, and it seems like it has just crushed the hobby. The comment period is over. We've all submitted our public comments, and now we just have to wait probably 2 years or more to see what the outcome of that is. But during that time, we're all going to be wondering, what happened? So let's just take a quick dive into what actually happened with the process and why we got in such trouble. And then after that, I want to talk about my RC club and how they got invited to meet with the wing corporation that does drone delivery and what their take on the whole situation is. So according to Dave, this is what happened with the rulemaking process that got us in so much trouble. Now, to start with, Congress had to task the FAA to create the NPRM. That's the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking. So what happened was, a while back, the FAA had to be reauthorized, and that had to go through Congress. And at that point, there was an alliance called the Commercial Drone Alliance, and they're still around. And among others, they were in agreement that 336 had to go so that regulations could be imposed on the hobby. The special rule for model aircraft is what protected the hobby and kept it from being regulated into the ground. You probably remember there was a lawyer that fought the FAA in court while 336 was still there. And that's because the FAA could not regulate and have the registration process that they were trying to impose. Because of that, there was a lot of kickback, and one of the things was that the FAA decided that they definitely needed to get rid of Section 336. So that was part of the process to repeal Section 336 when the bill was reauthorized. And this reauthorization caused the FAA to be tasked to regulate the airspace. So when the FAA went into making the NPRM, Section 336 was no longer there to protect the hobby. Now, that was the first pitfall, and I think a lot of hobbyists didn't know about Section 336 and how it was protecting the hobby. So at that point, Section 336 was gone, and now we go on to step one here. Now, this is the point where the FAA was creating its draft proposal, and they were taking input from the ARC, which was a Aviation Rulemaking Committee, giving them recommendations, and they made some recommendations to the FAA on how the NPRM should be structured, and some of it wasn't so bad for the hobby. And then there was also the DAC, or the Drone Advisory Committee, which also was involved too. And some of the DAC's recommendations weren't so bad either. And then you have your stakeholders, which also gave input into the rulemaking process. So the FAA took all this into account, but the question is, why didn't they use the ARC's recommendations instead of just ignoring them? So it's surprising that the FAA's NPRM was so hard-line when the ARC's recommendations were not hard-line at all. So now I want to explain what I think happened there. So after step 2, when the draft is proposed and reviewed and approved by the FAA, it's then passed on to step 3, to where the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, the OIRA, which is part of the Office of Management and Budget, starts to vet the proposed rule. And the FAA is required by law to do this vetting. So this vetting was done by all the agencies that were interested in this rulemaking, and some of the agencies were the FBI, Homeland Security, TSA, and others. So I think this is where the trouble came in. It wasn't so much about safety, but it was about security. These are security agencies, and their main focus was making sure that every drone had remote ID so they could find the bad actors or rogue drones. So I think this is probably where the ARC recommendations got overridden by those various agencies vetting the new proposed rule. So maybe the FAA isn't totally to blame for this regulation mess. They probably would have loosened the regulations up a little bit if it wasn't for the vetting that was done by these other security agencies. Because the FAA had been discussing the rules with the AMA and other different modeling groups, so they would have probably done a little bit better if it wasn't for the fact that they had pressure on them from the OIRA. So now we move on to step 4, and this is where the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking is published to the Federal Register as required by the Administrative Procedures Act. And at that point, public comment starts, and this process is obligatory for the FAA by law. It's something that they probably don't look forward to, and they certainly don't want to stretch it out beyond the 30 days that they're required to do. So this is where we got to put in our input as RC enthusiasts, and I think we got into about 30 to 40,000 comments before the comment period ended. And even some of the companies like DJI, Wing, and some of the manufacturers like Ready Made RC made comments on this particular bill. So some companies needed the new proposed rule to operate because they needed the FAA to give them permission, and they wouldn't give them permission because they needed the remote ID in place. Other companies like RC manufacturers were sort of negative about the rule, but they did realize it probably had to go through. They just didn't want it to destroy their business and take away the hobby. So after the 30-day comment period in step 5, it now goes to step 6. And that's where we are now. They're reviewing the comments, and the FAA may do this for quite a while. It may take up to 2 years for them to review all the comments and look at each one. During this time, the FAA isn't allowed to talk about the process, and they're required by law to basically keep silent. They may respond to some of our comments with an email or a letter just saying that they got the comment and they're reviewing it and they'll take it into consideration, but I'm not sure if we'll get anything at all. But wait, that's not all. There's something more surprising that's going to happen, because after they make the final draft in step 7, it then goes to step 8, where the final draft is again reviewed by the OIRA. So again, the vetting process will start again with those security agencies looking at it to see if it's still what they want. So while it's being vetted again by the OIRA, we may again lose some of the things that would be beneficial for the hobby. And the bad news is, when it goes to step 9 and it's published in the Federal Register, we have no input on this at all. It just goes directly to being published. And then after that, it's being implemented. So you see, there's no going through the Congress again, going through the House and then the Senate, and then having signature by the President. It's just simply implemented. So since it's not in the Congress, there's no way we can write our congressmen or our senators and tell them to try to put a stop to it. And besides that, we won't even know what's in it at this point. Now, the only way we would know what's going on is if they decided to add something to the rules. If they subtract something, then we won't hear anything. It'll just go on to being implemented. But if they decide to add some features to it, then it'll go back up to the top and start again, and then drop down through the different steps, and there'd be another public comment period. But actually, I doubt that'll ever happen, because they're in a hurry to get this through as fast as they can. So in the meantime, we're just waiting, and in a couple of years we'll find out if the hobby's coming into an end, or maybe it's just going to be a little bit different. With that in mind, let's move forward to our meeting with the drone delivery corporation called Wing and see what they had to say about it. So I want you to know, I tried to get the meeting recorded on video, but they were reluctant to do it. They didn't want to do it because I guess they want to have their own special spin on anything that they put out to the public. But they didn't say I couldn't put audio or just my own discussion, my own headshot. They didn't say I couldn't do that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just recapping what happened at the meeting. Okay, so the first thing I wondered was how they felt about the hobby in general. Well, it turns out some of them were hobbyists too, and they knew that the hobby was in jeopardy, that the new proposed rule was bad. In fact, in some ways, they didn't like the new proposed rule either. And one of the surprising things I found out is they didn't like, for their purposes, broadcast ID. They didn't think broadcast ID was good, but they did think it was good for the hobby, which I'll get into in a minute. But what they're using is a system that's, I should say it's similar to network ID, but it isn't done globally. It's just done within their structure. They have a thing that's similar to Lance. It's called Wing, and they map the drone's location and whatnot and ID with that through cell phone towers. So they're sort of already using a network ID, and that's what they like to use. But when I asked them about broadcast ID, they said definitely no, they had problems with that. They did think that it would be an option for the hobbyist. And the reason is that the hobbyist doesn't want to pay for a USS or, like a monthly fee for a service provider to gather all their data, and they don't want to have to pay maybe for the cell phone connection or whatever they have to have. And there may not even be a cell tower where they're at and they can't get a connection. So, network ID really isn't good for us as hobbyists. But the broadcast ID is, because it's built into some of the drones. Even a small mini quad like this could carry broadcast ID. You just have to have it retrofitted or something. And on airplanes, and of course the aerial photography drones like the Phantom or the Mavic by DJI, have it already in there. It just needs a firmware upgrade. But I did ask them if they were part of the Commercial Drone Alliance, and it turns out they are. So if they're part of the Commercial Drone Alliance, then they were at least accessories to getting rid of Section 336, which was the special rule for model aircraft. And that was pretty much the beginning of the end there, because that allowed the FAA to go ahead and regulate the hobby to death. Now, another surprising thing is, I asked them, are they making money on this? Do they ever foresee making money out of this? And they said, surprisingly, they just laughed and said no. And I said, well, what do you mean? Don't you want to make money? And they said, no, we're actually originally come from the X company, which is a Google company. And X company is into innovation and pretty much changing the landscape of society through innovation. And they don't care if they make money about it. It's research. Another thing that I felt was interesting, they talked about self-declaration as an option for the hobby. And self-declaration, again, is a thing, it's not broadcast ID, but it's more like where you use Lance or AirMap or something. You get on your cell phone and you do a pre-flight thing where you could be at home, not even where you're going to be flying, and just go on and say, well, I want to fly here at 3:30 and I'm going to be in this bubble right here when I fly. And it could be different sizes. It doesn't have to be just 400 feet, but wherever you're going to fly. And they were up for that, and they might put that in their suggestions too. Okay, next we talked to them about the hobby basically being killed by the FAA's decision not to let us retrofit or build or kit out our aircraft. And they understood that. They didn't think that all drones are just pre-manufactured and that's why they are, because some of them were hobbyists. They understood that it was an innovative thing, that kids get into it. They might even build paper, cardboard, foam airplanes and test them out and fly them. So they understood that some of these things just won't work with remote ID. But 90% of them you do have to modify in some way. And even if it was pre-built, it's going to crash and you're going to have to change it, and chances are you won't get the same parts. You may have to modify it, put different motors, different props, whatever you got to do to get it back in operation. So we definitely want to address that, and they took that comment as a positive comment, and they may ask for that too. Besides drone delivery, there are a lot of other technologies coming out on the market that also use airspace. So drone delivery isn't the only thing that's taking up the airspace and squeezing out the RC hobby. We pretty much got to dig for our own space, just like all these other innovations have to dig for space. The idea that the DJI drones caused all of this is not the case. I got to say that. What it was a preponderance of technologies coming out that wanted to use the airspace. And it wouldn't have mattered if there was any DJI drones or not. It still would have happened. It's just that time when the technology is breaking loose and everybody wants that airspace. And so therefore, we have a problem. Wing was very cordial in addressing all our comments. In fact, they wanted us there. They begged for us to come because they wanted to get input from the RC hobby. So we brought our club over there with everybody and discussed it with them. And we're glad to see that they are going to help us somewhat. I mean, you got to realize there's a lot of other stakeholders in this besides drone delivery. It'd be nice if we could meet with every one of them and get them all to make a comment in favor of the hobby and for the things we want. It's not going to totally destroy the hobby if we can get around some of these aspects. Okay, so I hope that helps you. I wish I could have got a video of the meeting so you could listen and see their expressions, but that wasn't possible. And I did the best I could. Okay, this is Dave. I'll talk to you later. And if this helps, let me know in the comments, or if you got any negative, positive, whatever. I just want to know what you think about it. And put it up underneath the video. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed too, because that would be nice. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Happy flying.